The human man stepped off the transport shuttle, his boots pressing onto the cold metal floor of Station Rilva. He was tired, carrying only a tool bag and a datapad. He came for work, nothing more. Just another broken power core to fix, another day in deep space. But someone was watching him. He didn't notice her at first. The station was crowded with tall, blue-skinned aliens, most ignoring him. Some gave him side looks. Some whispered in their own language. He was used to it. Humans were still new to this part of the galaxy. But in the corner of the hallway, someone giggled. He turned. Nothing. He walked on, checked his map, and entered a long, empty corridor toward the engineering bay. Suddenly, thunk. A small object hit his back. He turned again. Still nothing. But on the floor was a small round fruit. He picked it up slowly, confused. Then he heard its soft footsteps above. He looked up. Hanging upside down from a vent was a girl. A small alien girl. Her skin shimmered like silver moonlight, her eyes huge and bright violet. She smiled upside down, mischievous and glowing. Her dress barely reached her knees. Floating with gravity's pull, she blinked and dropped down like a cat, landing silently behind him. "You dropped this," she said in perfect standard, pretending to look innocent. He raised an eyebrow. "Did I?" She smiled wider. "Maybe I helped." He sighed and walked off, ignoring her. But she followed. "Are all humans this grumpy?" she asked. "I'm working. Even robots say hi." He stopped and turned. "Look, little one, I'm not here to play. I'm here to fix your station's failing reactor before it explodes." She narrowed her eyes. "Little one, I'm older than you think." He didn't answer and kept walking, but her giggle echoed behind him. Later, in the engine room, she showed up again, sitting on top of the generator. "How did you even get in here?" he asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. "I go wherever I like," she said, swinging her legs. "That's dangerous." "Then catch me," she said, and jumped off. He tried to grab her before she fell, but she spun midair and landed like a feather. "You humans are slow," she teased. Other engineers glanced over, whispering. One tall alien approached him. "Be careful," the creature said in a low voice. "Don't get too close to her." "Why? She's trouble." He looked at her again. She sat cross-legged now, playing with a tool she had clearly stolen from his belt. She looked up at him with big, sparkling eyes. "Are they warning you about me? They said you're trouble." Her smile faded for just a second but returned quickly. "I must be unforgettable then." The human took back his tool and tried to focus, but her presence made it hard. She leaned closer, watching his hands work. "You have nice fingers," she said suddenly. He flinched slightly. "Excuse me." For a human, she added with a sly smirk. He grunted. "You don't even know my name." "I don't need to," she said. "I already know your scent. You smell like metal and soap." He didn't know whether to be insulted or complimented. That night, in the crew quarters, he sat on the edge of his bed, trying to rest. He stared at the ceiling. Then, a knock. He opened the door. She stood there with a shiny object in her hands. "This is yours," she said, holding out his missing wrist scanner. "You stole it." "Borrowed," she replied. "Why bring it back?" She looked down. "Because I wanted to see your face again." That stopped him. He stepped back, letting her in. She didn't sit. She just stood there, quiet now. "You were laughing all day," he said. "Why so silent now?" Her eyes didn't meet his. She looked around the room. "You're the only one who didn't call me a curse," she whispered. His face softened. "What do you mean?" She finally looked at him. "They all think I bring bad luck. That I'm broken inside." He didn't say anything. She turned to leave, but stopped in the doorway. "You're different. Don't become like the rest." Before he could answer, she disappeared into the dark hallway. He sat down again, now more awake than before. He didn't know her name, her story, or why she followed him. But one thing was clear: she wasn't just teasing for fun. Something was hidden behind those glowing eyes. Something broken, and something very real. The next morning, the human tried to focus on work. He walked through the long metal corridor toward the coolant valves, pretending not to notice every sound behind him. Still, he heard the soft taps of bare feet following him again. When he turned a corner, a familiar shape peeked from behind a cargo crate. tail swaying slowly. "You again," he said, not surprised. She stepped out with a grin, pretending she had just arrived. "I was inspecting this box. Very important inspection." He gave her a look. "You're not allowed in this sector." She shrugged. "No one stops me." That was true. The station guards never said anything to her. In fact, they avoided her like she carried a curse. One engineer even turned back the moment he saw her and left without saying a word. The human turned on his scanner and continued his work, checking circuits and piping. She walked beside him, humming a strange tune. "You know," she said suddenly, "the last human who came here ran away from me." "I'm not him, I know," she said, looking at him from the corner of her eye. "You don't run. You just stare with those calm, tired eyes, like nothing surprises you." He paused. "I've seen a lot." She tilted her head. "Seen war?" He didn't answer. She laughed lightly but didn't ask again. Later, he crouched near a power relay, trying to fix a loose wire. She dropped down beside him, quiet this time. She just sat there and watched. "Why do you follow me?" he asked finally. She tapped her finger on her knee. "Because you're not like the others. You don't flinch when I speak. You don't whisper behind my back. I work alone," he said. "I keep to myself, and that makes you more honest than all of them." He looked at her closely now. She was small, delicate, maybe 4 feet tall, with long glowing strands of hair like starlight. Her skin shimmered faintly, but up close he could see tiny scars hidden under her glow. Thin lines, fading, but still there. "Who gave you those?" he asked before thinking. Her smile vanished. "You saw them." He nodded. "They called it training. I was born to be useful. When I failed the tests, they said I was too weak." He stared at her, but she quickly smiled again. "But I'm good at escaping. That's a skill, right?" He didn't smile. That night, he lay on his bunk again, but something felt wrong. Not fear, not confusion, just worry. He couldn't stop thinking about her. The way she changed when no one watched. How her voice dropped. How her eyes lost their spark when she spoke of her past. Suddenly, a knock. He opened the door. She was there again, but not smiling this time. "They're talking about sending me away," she said, voice quiet. "The council thinks I'm a threat." "A threat?" He frowned. "To who?" She stepped inside slowly, eyes shimmering more than usual. "To their image, to their peace. I don't fit their perfect world." He leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. "You're harmless, that's what you think." She whispered. "What do you mean?" She looked up at him, eyes glowing brighter. "Do you know what my kind used to be?" He shook his head. "We were bred for psychic combat, emotional disruption. My ancestors were weapons." "You're not a weapon. They don't believe that," she said. "I failed the control tests. Sometimes, when I get too emotional, strange things happen." He stayed silent. "That's why I tease," she added. "It keeps me balanced. It stops me from slipping." Suddenly, the lights flickered in the room. Not much, just a soft pulse. She froze, realizing it too. "I shouldn't have come," she whispered, stepping back. But he didn't let her go. "You came to me, so now you stay." Her lips trembled. For the first time, the girl who teased him with confidence now looked like a lost child. She stepped forward again, standing close, barely reaching his chest. "I didn't mean to scare you," she said. "You didn't." He reached out slowly and placed a hand on her shoulder. She didn't pull away. She leaned forward and rested her forehead against his chest. The room stayed quiet. Then he heard it so soft he almost missed it. A small sniffle. Her shoulders trembled slightly. She was crying. Not loud, not broken, just quietly. Like someone who didn't want to be hurt anymore. Like someone who had spent a lifetime learning how to cry without sound. He said nothing, only wrapped his arms around her gently. No teasing now, no games, just silence. And in that silence, a strange connection grew between a quiet human who had seen too much and a mischievous alien girl who only wanted someone to see her without fear. That night, he didn't sleep because he knew something had changed, and soon everything would. He woke to alarms blaring across the station. Red lights flashed outside his cabin door, and the walls shook with distant thuds. The calm night was gone, replaced with chaos. The girl was gone too. He jumped up, throwing on his jacket, grabbing his scanner and toolkit out of habit. As he opened the door, a rushing crowd of alien workers pushed past him, running toward the safe sectors. One of them shouted, "Unauthorized ship breached lower bay." His stomach turned. He knew what that meant. He ran through the corridor, dodging panicked engineers and security drones. Every hallway echoed with shouts, orders, and distant growls of something not mechanical. Down in the engineering level, he found scorched metal doors and smashed lights. The floor was wet coolant fluid and something else he couldn't name. His boots slipped slightly, but he kept going, turning left at the main reactor and crawling through a side vent she once teased him about. That was where he found her. She sat huddled behind a coolant tank, her knees pulled to her chest. Her silver skin had dulled, and her hair clung to her face like wilted threads. When she saw him, her eyes lit up for a second but then lowered again. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I came for you. They're here for me." I felt them writhe. He crouched beside her, watching her body tremble. "Who are they?" She took a shaky breath. "Hunters, sent to bring me back, or kill me if I resist." He blinked. "Why didn't you run?" "Because I didn't want to leave you behind." His heart beat faster. He looked around, then helped her to her feet. "Come on. We're getting out of here." She hesitated. "If I lose control again, then I'll help you stay in control." They moved quickly, sticking to shadows and vents, avoiding patrols. The station security didn't know what they were dealing with. This wasn't a normal breach, it was an extraction, clean and silent. As they crossed a cargo bay, a shadow dropped in front of them, a tall alien covered in dark armor, no symbols, no words. Its mask gleamed red. It raised a long shock rod. He moved without thinking, pushing her behind him and charging forward. The rod hit him square in the chest, sending a bolt of pain through his spine. He crashed to the ground, gasping. She screamed. The air shifted. Heat, static. The walls seemed to pulse. Then the armored alien froze. His body lifted off the ground just slightly, like a puppet caught on invisible strings. The lights around them dimmed. The alien began to shake. Then, slowly, it was thrown backward, crashing into a wall hard enough to crack metal. She fell to her knees beside him, her hands glowing faint blue. Her breath came in quick, shallow gasps. "You said you'd help me stay calm." He coughed, laughing weakly. "Next time, don't wait until after I get zapped." She helped him stand, and they kept moving, slipping into a hidden transport shaft. It was dark, filled with old maintenance tunnels no one used anymore. "I know a place," she said quietly, "where the council won't look." She led him through twists and turns, like she knew every inch of the station's bones. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with old supply crates and rusted panels. She shut the door behind them, locking 3 mechanical bolts. "This was my hiding place before," she said. "Before I met you." He sat down, still recovering. "Why did you hide?" "Because I was tired of being someone's experiment. Tired of pretending I was something dangerous, just so they wouldn't throw me away." Her voice cracked slightly. "I didn't want to be feared anymore." He looked at her, eyes calm. "I don't fear you." She smiled, barely. "I know." Then her expression changed, eyes narrowed. "They'll come again, stronger, more of them. Then we leave the station." Her eyes widened. "Leave? But how?" "I worked on the hangar system last week. There's one unregistered ship docked there. It's old but fast." "You're serious?" she said, completely. Her lips trembled, then curled upward. "You're either the bravest human I've ever met, or the dumbest. Probably both." She sat beside him, head on his shoulder, breathing steady now. For a moment, even in the dark, the shaking stopped. But in the distance, the hum of ships landing echoed again. They were running out of time. And next time, there would be no room to hide. The hangar lights flickered as they stepped onto the platform. Alarms had faded, but silence didn't mean safety. The girl stayed close to the human side, clutching a small pack across her chest. Her violet eyes scanned every corner like a cornered animal. He walked fast, checking the security console on the far wall. He entered a few override codes he remembered from a past repair job. The panel beeped green. "Docking gate unlocked," the AI said calmly. She looked at him. Surprised. You remember override codes. I fix systems. I see everything. I remember what I need. They moved toward the old scout ship in the corner of the hangar. It was small, scratched, and looked abandoned, but its engines still hummed faintly. Behind them, the hangar door groaned. He turned fast. 3 dark figures stepped in. Same armor, same red masks. This time, they weren't trying to be quiet. The girl tensed, backing up slowly. Her hand touched the ship's ramp. The human stepped in front of her again. One of the masked aliens raised a hand. Step away from the girl. She belongs to us. He shook his head. She doesn't belong to anyone. A pause, then a mechanical voice replied, You have 5 seconds to comply. He glanced over his shoulder. Start the ship. What about you? I'll stall. You'll die. He smiled. Only if they're lucky. She didn't argue. She ran inside. And within seconds, the old ship groaned to life. Lights on the hull blinked. Engines began to rumble. The 3 figures advanced. One fired a shock dart. The human rolled aside, sliding behind a supply crate. Another dart zipped past him, sparking on the wall. He grabbed a broken wrench nearby and threw it, distracting one attacker just long enough to rush forward and slam the crate into their legs. One fell to left. The ramp behind him hissed open. The girl shouted from inside, Get in. He sprinted back, but one alien grabbed his arm. A cold surge of pain flooded his side. Before he could scream, the pressure vanished. The alien's mask shattered, ripped off by an invisible force. She stood on the ramp, glowing brighter than ever. Her hair floated, her eyes full of burning light. The remaining attackers froze, floating off the ground. Then she dropped them, hard. Metal crunched, the hangar floor cracked. She collapsed to her knees right after, trembling. He rushed to her, lifted her up, and carried her inside. The ramp closed. Can you fly this thing? He asked, sitting her down gently. She nodded, fingers already dancing across the controls. I think so. Then get us out of here. The ship roared. They shot through the hangar gate, alarms screaming behind them. Blaster fire chased them, but missed as they angled into the open black of space. The girl's hands shook on the controls, but her eyes stayed focused. Coordinates set, she said, jumping to neutral space. The moment they entered warp, everything outside turned to blur. Silence fell inside the ship, only the hum of systems remained. He finally sat beside her, catching his breath. You okay? She looked down. I didn't want to do that, but I had to. You saved both of us. I lost control again. No, he said firmly. You controlled it when it mattered. She turned her face toward him, her expression unreadable. I was supposed to be a weapon, she whispered. But with you, I feel like something else. He stayed quiet, letting her speak. Back there, I wanted to destroy everything. But when I saw you, hurt, all I wanted was to protect you. He leaned forward slightly. You did. I've never cried in front of anyone, she admitted. I know. I hated everyone who ever touched me, until you. He looked at her, eyes steady. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I don't understand what I am anymore. You're not alone now. He said softly, you don't have to understand everything tonight. She stared at him, then slowly leaned against his shoulder. A few moments passed. Then, softly, barely more than a breath, she spoke. Will you hold me again? He wrapped an arm around her, and she pressed closer, burying her face in his chest. No teasing this time, no glowing tricks, just warmth, just truth. Outside, stars stretched and danced. But inside the small ship, one tiny girl, once feared and unwanted, finally rested in silence, with someone who didn't see her as a weapon, but as something worth saving. She didn't want to wake up, not because she was tired, but because for the first time in her life sleep had felt safe, curled beside the human, wrapped in the soft hum of the ship's life support. The nightmares had stayed away. No screaming voices, no memories of training rooms, no masks. Just warmth. But peace never lasted long. The ship's proximity alarm buzzed softly. She stirred and opened her eyes. He was already awake, staring at the console with a hard look. What is it? She asked, sitting up slowly. Another ship, he said, following our warp trail. Too fast for normal pirates. She frowned. They track me, again. He nodded. Probably. She swallowed hard, gripping the side of her seat. We can't outrun them in this old thing. We won't need to. He said, I have a plan. She blinked. You always have a plan. He smiled faintly. I fix things. It's in the job. He turned the ship out of warp, dropping them near an asteroid cluster. Floating rocks, thick with debris fields dangerous to fly through, but also perfect for hiding. She watched him maneuver the ship between two massive rocks, the hull groaning. From the sudden pressure shifts. You've done this before, she said. Once, he muttered, eyes scanning the radar. During the Terran smuggler runs, I thought humans were new to the galaxy. We're new to peace. He said, not trouble. The ship powered down most of its systems going dark. Only the oxygen and gravity stayed on. The pursuers would pass right by, or so they hoped. They waited in silence. Then static crackled over the ship's comms. Her eyes went wide. That signal. He heard it too. A coded pulse, almost like a whisper. They're not scanning. She said slowly, they're calling. Calling who? She tapped into the message, filtering it through the ship's systems. Her hands moved fast. It's not for us. It's a beacon for others. His eyes narrowed. More are coming. She nodded. They're pulling every hunter in this quadrant. The silence thickened. Finally, she said, I can't keep running. I'll lose control again. Someone will get hurt. He stood and walked to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Then we stop running. She looked up at him. And do what? Fight, if that's what it takes. Her lips trembled. I'm not a soldier. No, he said. You're stronger than one. You've lived through worse. She leaned into his hand, drawing calm from his steady touch. Then, after a moment, she turned back to the screen. There's one place they won't follow, she whispered. He raised an eyebrow. Where? A dead zone, she replied. A planet cursed by my people. They believe it drains psychic energy. They'll never enter it. He smiled. Sounds perfect. You sure? The surface is unstable. No ships, no scanners. If we go down, we're on our own. He met her gaze. Then we go down together. Within the hour, they broke from the asteroid field, shot past the signal trail, and turned hard toward the dark space beyond the mapped sectors. The ship shook violently as they entered the dead zone, an empty region between stars, surrounded by silence and gravitational anomalies. The girl grew quiet, her glow dimming. He noticed and asked, Are you okay? I feel strange here, like I'm fading, but also peaceful. Then we're going the right way, soon. A gray planet came into view, cracked like a shattered glass orb, with glowing red veins beneath its surface. No signs of life, no satellites, no cities. Just silence. He guided the ship carefully through the broken atmosphere. The controls became sluggish, monitors flickered, but they landed hard, kicking up clouds of ash. Systems failed, lights blinked out. The engines died. They sat in the dark. She looked at him. Now what? We survive, he said simply. He stood and opened the hatch. Dust blew in, warm and dry. The sky outside was blood red, and the ground shimmered like glass. She stepped out beside him, pulling her thin cloak tighter. Then she looked around. Something's here. He paused. I thought this place was dead. It's dead to machines, she whispered. But I can feel something watching. They walked away from the ship, toward a sharp ridge in the distance. Her footsteps were lighter now, like gravity didn't pull her as hard here. The planet had a strange effect on her. Her glow returned, but not from stress, from balance. She stopped near a cluster of stones. This place remembers things, she said softly. Old pain, old anger, like me. He stood beside her, quiet. She turned to him. This world is broken, like me. He touched her hand gently. Then maybe it's the perfect place to start over. The wind on the broken planet didn't howl, it whispered. A low, eerie sound that slid between the rocks like secrets too old to understand. The ground was cracked and sharp, but the girl walked barefoot without flinching. She seemed different. Here, lighter, quieter. The human followed her closely, one hand gripping the small sidearm he always carried, but rarely used. His eyes scanned the jagged landscape, alert. Nothing moved. But he couldn't shake the feeling they weren't alone. She led him into a narrow valley carved into the stone. Crystal spikes grew from the walls like frozen lightning, pulsing faintly with energy. "They'll never follow us here," she said finally. "Because of the drain." She nodded. "It doesn't just take power, it reflects it. If someone comes here angry, violent, this place shows them their own darkness, it eats it. That's why your people called it cursed." "No," she whispered. "That's why they were afraid of it." They stopped at a small shelter half collapsed, long abandoned. He brushed away the dust and cleared a space where they could rest. As he worked, she knelt by one of the glowing crystals, placing her hand on it. It pulsed once bright and soft. He glanced at her. "What did it show you?" She looked up, her voice thin. "Me, as I could have been. Not a weapon, just a girl." He didn't answer. He couldn't. That night, they sat inside the shelter, sharing dried food and old stories. He told her about Earth, about rain and coffee, about dogs that barked too much and neighbors who argued over tiny fences. She laughed for the first time. In days, not a tease, a real laugh. "I want to see Earth one day," she said. "You will," she smiled, then leaned her head on his shoulder again. Her eyes stayed open, staring at the cracked ceiling. "I keep thinking about that first day I met you," she whispered. "I threw fruit at your back. I remember. I wanted you to notice me," she said, "but not because I was dangerous. I just wanted someone to look at me without fear." He turned to her, gently lifting her chin so their eyes met. "I saw you," he said. Even then, she blinked fast. "Why didn't you push me away like the others?" "Because I was alone too." Their hands found each other in the dark. She squeezed his fingers softly. Then the ground rumbled. He stood instantly. She rose too, hair glowing faintly from outside the shelter. The wind began to shift louder, sharper. But it wasn't the wind. Footsteps. Heavy, slow, controlled. He moved toward the entrance. Gun ready. She placed her hand on his arm. "It's not a hunter." He hesitated. Then her voice dropped. "Someone stronger." They stepped outside, and what they saw made the human's stomach turn. It wasn't one of the masked hunters. It wasn't even armored. It was her. An older version of her. Taller, colder, radiating power. The girl froze, breath caught in her throat. "What is this?" the human asked, raising his weapon. "It's not real," the girl said softly. "It's a mirror." The figure spoke. Her voice was crueler, sharper. "So this is what you've become. Hiding behind a human, weak." The girl trembled, but didn't step back. "You were made for more," the vision hissed. "You were built to tear empires apart, not cry in someone's arms." "I don't want to destroy," the girl whispered. "Then you're useless." The human stepped between them. "She's not useless. She's free." The image sneered. "And you think you gave her that? Fool." The girl's hands began to glow. Brighter this time, but not from fear. From something steadier. Hope. Double quotes. "No," she said. "He didn't give me freedom. I chose it. And I choose it again." The figure reached out but shattered like glass before touching her. Silence fell. The girl exhaled slowly. Her glow faded. Her hands dropped. He walked to her and held her gently. She rested her head against him. I think I passed the test," she said. He smiled. "I think you did too." They stayed there under the dead sky, wrapped in each other's warmth, knowing that what came next might still be dangerous, but they would face it together, not as a human and a runaway weapon, but as two souls who had chosen each other in the silence beyond stars. The stars were clearer here than anywhere he'd been, bright, silent, endless. They sat together on the edge of a stone cliff, feet dangling over the cracked earth. The wind brushed past them like a breath from the ancient planet itself. She leaned against his side, her hair glowing gently in the dark. No longer wild or frightened, just soft. "I've never seen stars like this," she whispered. "They've always been there," he said. "You were just never given the chance to stop and look." She smiled, small and quiet. Her fingers found his, and they sat like that for a long time. No words, just stillness, a moment that felt like a lifetime. Then the signal came. A soft ping echoed from the abandoned ship behind them. The console, barely holding power, lit up with a single red pulse. He stood up quickly, walking inside. She followed. He checked the screen. "Someone's here," he said. A small vessel just dropped out of warp, orbiting. Her breath caught. Another hunter. He watched the screen. No, it's broadcasting a civilian code. Old Terran format. She stepped closer. From Earth. He nodded slowly. Could be. A voice came through the static. Garbled but clear enough. Human. Vessel, this is Captain Terrace of the Starling Echo. We picked up your distress beacon. Do you require assistance? He looked at her. She stared at the screen, heart racing. What if it's a trap? He turned to her gently. Then we fight. But if it's not, it's a way home. She looked down, torn. I don't belong anywhere. You belong with me, he said without hesitation. She closed her eyes. Then let's see what's waiting. They spent the next hour preparing the ship. Systems were barely alive, but with both of them working together, they got it functional enough to lift. She stayed calm, focused, even. When the planet tried to pull the engines down, she didn't waver. They broke atmosphere and saw the other ships leak, silver, quiet. Not a hunter, not military. A transport cruiser, the kind used by Outer and Terran traders, receiving landing permission. He said, they're waiting. She nodded. He reached over, brushing her cheek gently. No matter what happens, I won't leave you behind. I know, she said softly. That's why I followed you from the start. The small ship docked with the cruiser. The ramp hissed open. Lights brightened slowly. They stepped out together. A tall man stood on the other side, flanked by 2 humans and a few aliens. He looked older, tired like the human had been when this journey started. I didn't believe the signal at first, the captain said. You've been off the grid for days. Longer, the human replied. The captain's eyes fell on the girl beside him. She stood close, guarded but no longer hiding. Who is she? The captain asked carefully. The human placed his hand over hers. Someone who needs a second chance. Someone who's earned it. The captain looked between them. Then he stepped aside. Welcome aboard. They were shown to a cabin. Small, but clean, safe. The girl stood by the window, staring at the stars moving past as the ship jumped to hyperspace. He came beside her, arms wrapping around her waist. She leaned back against him. Where to now? She asked. Wherever you want. He replied. She thought for a moment, then said, Earth. He smiled. Then Earth it is. She turned and faced him. I used to think I was built to destroy, she said. But now I think, maybe I was just waiting to meet someone who would teach me how to feel. You've always known how, he said. You just needed someone to remind you. She reached up, pressing her forehead to his. Promise me something, she whispered. Anything. Don't let me be alone again. You never will be. She smiled, and this time, it reached her eyes. Clear and bright. For the first time, she wasn't hiding behind a joke or a trick. She was home, not in a place, but in a person, and in the vast, cold galaxy that was the rarest thing of all.